Whoa! That's a lot of oil. What's gone on here? It had a little oil leak. It's only been parked up for a couple of weeks and it has poured out. Let's get it up in the air and see what's going on. Right, I don't quite understand what's going on here. So this used to drip a tiny little bit and now I've got loads of oil out the bottom of it and it hasn't gone anywhere, hasn't even been running, it's just been sat in here. So as you know, the engine will be coming out of this, but before I take it out I want to be able to run it to see where the oil's leaking from. So we'll clean it up, have a look where that oil's coming from, and then when it's out we can replace the gaskets. But it's obviously a leak right at the bottom, lower half of the gearbox because it hasn't been running. So I'm hoping it's just the sump plug or something like that. So we're going to clean that up, but there's something weird going on here because I've just pulled the drip tray from under that and it's dry, no drips. I drove it at the weekend. I went to go down and see Reese's Mini. I come back, had a nice little drive, and this thing had developed a leak that was getting worse and worse and worse, and now it seems to have just stopped. But the Tardis is pouring out oil. What is going on? Right, so we've got that all cleaned up now. I've actually removed the cover for the gear selector cable under here. And we've got a drip tray down there. I've cleaned all this off. I'll show you how to clean that off in a moment. My suspicion, as I say, it was all around the bottom here. I thought it was a sump plug, but obviously now that's cleaned off nicely, it should be really easy to see where the oil's dripping down. I've got a drip tray down here, it's cleaned off, so I think we'll get the GoPro set up on time lapse and I might be able to capture where it's coming from. Right, I always like to share my best practice tips. So how I degrease the engine, I use Gunk brush on engine degreaser. They do lots of different stuff. They do stuff in a green can, they do water-based stuff, they do stuff in a sprayer. This stuff is the best. Engine degreaser, brush on. I put it in a pressure sprayer. You need one that will take solvents, like these Worth ones. They're very, very good, they are. About 17 quid, but they work really, really well and they last. So pour the gunk into the pressure sprayer, spray it, and then I spray a fine mist over the area I want to degrease, like the engine. Let it settle in for a little bit and then go at it with a stiff brush. Paint brushes work really, really well. And of course, they're readily available. Just go and borrow your wife's toothbrush. She won't mind, honest. Tell her I told you to. Rub it in, spray a bit more gunk on, rub it in. And then the tip then is to empty the gunk, empty the pressure sprayer, go and boil the kettle and pour boiling water into here, or just off boiling as well, but be really, really careful. You don't want to scald yourself or anything like that. These will take boiling water. So pour boiling water in there, put the cap back on, pressurise it up, and then when you spray it, it will come out as steam. So it's like having a steam cleaner, only at a fraction of the cost. And if the gunk doesn't get the grease and grime off, the steam certainly will. So that works really, really well. Word of caution though, don't do it on a modern engine with sensors and plugs and, you know, complicated wiring looms, because that steam will get inside certainly the plugs in the loom. But on something like a Mini, absolutely fine. Right, I have sussed the main cause of the leak. I've got the other GoPro down there on time lapse at the moment, so I'll show you in a minute. But can you have a guess what it was from the symptoms I'm telling you? So it wasn't leaking much at all. Maybe, like I say, 2 or 3 drips a week. And I put that down to possibly the sump plug. But could have been something else. But I thought, yeah, maybe it's just a sump plug leaking. That's an easy fix. But I brought it in here, started stripping it a couple of weeks ago. And in fact, it's a week since I moved it. So since last week, it had leaked all that oil earlier, which was actually quite a lot. It was probably, I don't know, 200 mil of oil. It was quite a bit.
And of course I can't understand why it's leaked out that much oil. It hasn't moved, it wasn't leaking that badly before. I've not done anything with it in between, so why all of a sudden does it start leaking oil really badly? And it wasn't up on these stands either. So let me give you a clue and see if you can work out why it started leaking all of a sudden. Any ideas? So inside, this was how I left the car last time. What do you reckon? Let's, I'll tell you what, stick down in the description down the bottom now if you can guess why it's leaking so badly now and it wasn't before. And we'll skip to time lapse and you'll find out. Look at the lengths I go to get you viewers some good footage. We've got the GoPro set up on time lapse here, waiting for a drip. So, did you guess right? Yeah, it's the gear shift oil seal. Obviously, quite different on an automatic, but obviously prone to leaking like the manuals are. So the gearbox had been left in drive. So I would normally park it up and put it in neutral, but it's been left in drive for a week, and that's why it's poured out so much oil. So that gear shift oil seal must be no good. So when I take the engine out, I know what I need to replace now. I guess the shaft might be damaged or something like that, but I reckon it's probably just the oil seal, because when it's in neutral position, it doesn't leak. And those few drips I was getting was obviously where I was driving it in, moving it backwards and forwards, it builds up a bit of oil, and then that drips just while it's sitting there. But obviously it's not leaking while it's in neutral. So if anyone knows actually, are these prone to the gear shift oil seals leaking? Is it a problem with the shaft wearing or something like that? Let me know, because I won't be replacing this for a while now. I just wanted to find out what the oil leak was. Okay, so rather than end the footage there, I always think it's important to confirm the fault. So it's been in neutral for 24 hours now. And as you can see, as suspected, the sump plug is definitely leaking, but there is no oil above that. And I think what we'll do, we'll just knock it into drive again. So it's bone dry around here now, definitely leaking from the sump plug. We'll knock it into neutral, we'll time lapse it again and just make doubly sure that it is that gear shifter leaking.
Right, so there we go. That pretty much wraps up this video. I just wanted to do that second check at the end there just to confirm what I found earlier, and of course it's completely stopped leaking now, so it doesn't matter what gear I put it in, it's not leaking at all. It would have been nice just to double check that, but I'm pretty confident it was that gear shift oil seal. In fact, I'm certain it was that gear shift oil seal. It obviously, just by moving the gear lever out, it must just be in a specific position it leaks. It might be picking it up a little bit on the shaft, but I know for sure now when I take the engine out, that is one thing I need to do. Obviously the sump plug will be done at the same time, and I'll do as many other gaskets and seals I can get to at the time without completely stripping the engine down, because it doesn't need that. But we'll certainly do things like the gear shift oil seal, rocker cover gasket. The head's got to come off to be converted to unleaded. So we're going to do quite a few gaskets anyway. And yeah, it would have just been nice to see it leaking again at the end, but hey, you know, that's how it goes sometimes. So next video probably, or next bit of the project, I think is probably going to be pulling the engine out, and yeah, I don't see any why not. I'm running out of things to do on the car actually, so yeah, it'll probably be pulling the engine out next, and then we'll get kind of stuck into doing that before we get on to rectifying some of the bodywork. So just want to do a quick thank you anyway to all the subscribers. There's been quite a few new ones recently, but all of you, thank you very much for subscribing. I really hope you enjoy the channel. By this evening, we should have just hit 7,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. I've not done a giveaway for this one, but I definitely will do at 8,000 subscribers. And I think I'll do the same as I've done before, been saving me 50p's and 20p's up in a jar. It's probably a fair old amount of money there now. And I think what I'll do is, I don't know, it will be at least £100 voucher giveaway. So if you're not subscribed, get subscribing. Let's get to 8,000 subscribers as quickly as possible, and I'll do a nice big giveaway. So yeah, thanks for watching this week. Lastly, Reese's Mini, the Mark 1 Mini. I did watch that. I thought about it really carefully and what I've got going on at the moment. It's just more than I can take on at the moment, so I didn't bid in the end. I haven't won the car. Just thinking about it, what I've got going on with Tardis and what I've got planned over the next 6 months, that project would just sit outside getting rustier than it is at the moment, so it just makes no sense to buy it now. But I hope Reece done well on it. I hope he got what he wanted for the car. It's certainly very interesting. I know there was lots of comments, really divided opinion that car did actually. For me, it was, what appealed to me, it's just a 1960 car. It's very, very early in the production run. You just can't go out and buy cars like that. And yes, it needed a complete restoration. I personally think the shell was salvageable. I don't think you would have had to completely scrap it and start with a new shell. There was quite a lot of parts on that car that are pretty solid. So it may have been harder to repair the shell rather than replace it, but I think the shell was salvageable. But as some other people have pointed out, it didn't have the original engine, so it wouldn't have been matching numbers on the engine, but I think the shell was salvageable. Anyway, I didn't get it, so that's going to be a project for someone else. It'd be great if someone does do it and documents it on YouTube. I'll certainly be following it. But thanks for tuning in this week. Hope you enjoyed this week's video, and I'll be back very soon with another update on Project Tardis.